Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Marketer's Blueprint podcast. I am your host, of course, Nathan Gibson, and as always, I have with me Mr. Gabe Arnold. Gabe, how's the week been?
It's going well. It's been a productive week, so I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, I've honestly had a really great week. Stoked that it's Friday, of course. We all love Fridays here. But we're going to dive in today. We have a really exciting episode for you guys planned. I think you guys are really going to enjoy this one. So I'm going to start with this. So looks aren't everything in today's day and age, but they do come with a price tag. Let me explain. I know that sounds crazy off the rip, but think about the last time that you went to a fancy restaurant. I know Gabe has been into some fine dining establishments, I'm sure. And I myself am a firm believer that you can get a great meal just about anywhere, right? Like there are some small mom and pop shops that have
Yep.
excellent food. But when you walk into a well-designed establishment, it elevates the experience, right? There's something unique about that. So I wanted to ask you, Gabe, when was the last time you bought something or invested in something based on looks or imagery?
First thing that comes to mind is I was up vacationing at a friend's lake house in August last year,
Hmm.
and they recommended that Rachel and I go to this local spa for massages and all sorts of fun stuff. And we went, and when I first walked in, like the way everything was laid out was just really aesthetically pleasing. It was really balanced. They were, I think they were, I think it's they're called vaporizers or whatever. They had like essential oils coming out of the
Right.
vaporizer,
Aroma, yeah.
or aroma things or whatever they're called. Um, and the way everything is laid out, it was just aesthetically really pleasing. And I know, like in my marketing brain, I know why I like it because that psychological comfort, just in the visuals, I had a great massage and everything was awesome on that
Of
front
course,
too.
right? Yeah.
But just like the visual layout of it put me at ease right when I walked in, and I knew I was going to have a really, really high class, awesome experience just from how I walked in and saw initial presentation, and I was really pleased walking in, and I had an amazing experience on top of that. But that that sets the stage for like my
Exactly.
actual engagement in the service that I had.
Yeah, and that's a great example for like a service-based industry. I had one prep too for myself. I play a lot of trading card games. It's been something that I've done since I was a kid, and something that always gets me, and they always get my dollar, is the art on the packaging.
Yeah,
Like that's one thing that's a huge thing in the industry of card games is the art. They pay a lot to their artists, and they have really in-depth artwork, and they do really solid packaging on these card game products. And so when I go into my local card game store, I'm like, oh my gosh, that looks so cool. I have to have it in my collection. And so they get me with the imagery alone without even knowing what cards I'm going to pull or what the deck has. Sometimes they'll just get me with the imagery. So the same principle of what Gabe and I just spoke about will also apply to your brand. Your logo, your website, and just overall design can really significantly influence how your customers perceive your business and influence their willingness to buy from you. It's really not to be understated. So in today's episode, we're going to be sharing some tips and tricks to make how to make your brand visually appealing and why less can be more in some circumstances. But before we do that, we have to do it, Gabe. I have to put you on the spot again and do our marketing minute. People have really been loving this, and we always love to hear just a quick tidbit of advice for you. So let's do our marketing minute, Gabe. What do you think everybody should know today?
no prompt, huh? Um, no, I'm good. I would say that in marketing, there's this little known secret that most people don't talk about or engage in, and they lose millions of dollars in their business, the life of their business, because they don't understand the rule of 80, 15, 5. So 80%, 15%, 5%. 5% of the people you market to, advertise to, engage with are in need, high action takers, and will jump on your opportunity or will take the next step very quickly with you. But then those are great, and I wish everybody was fast action. That would be great. Like that's a nice wish to have, but that's not reality.
Right.
Next 15% are people that are going to need more relationship building, more time to consider. They're more thoughtful. They have a different buying process, and so they will be more in your typical sales cycle after they see your marketing. They may buy in 2 weeks or 2 months or something like that. And then 80% of the people you're marketing to today will be on a very long cycle of 6 months or 12 months or maybe 2 years.
Mm.
And if you're willing to play the long game and address all three segments of your market, because your market, I don't care who you are, has the 80-15-5 groupings. If you're willing to play the long game and market to all three groups, you will cash in and be very profitable. But if you think that you only, success is only determined by the 5%, you're always going to burn through that 5% and feel like you have to shift markets.
That's a wonderful piece of advice. I've learned a lot from you, but I haven't heard that one, so I might have to take some notes on that. And I think it was a little over a minute, but I'm going to give you some grace on that one because
All right.
that was a hot piece of advice. I really like that. But there you guys go, another marketing minute. The rule he mentioned there is really really high impact, so I would definitely take some notes on that. But let's get back to what we were talking about, making your brand beautiful. And what I want to talk about here is minimalist design tips. So a recent survey from Adobe actually showed that 63% of consumers prefer brands with a minimalist design. So that's a very large percentage. And we're going to go over some key reasons why you could or should be embracing minimalism in your brand design in 2025. So a couple things here is the first thing is when you have minimalist design, it enhances visual clarity for your website. Having a minimalist design will remove a lot of the clutter right off the get-go and make everything really high impact, right?
Yeah.
And then one thing that I really want to touch on is not only will it remove unnecessary clutter, but it will emphasize the more important aspects of your brand, which is arguably one of the most important things when you're designing your brand, right?
Yeah, if you think about any of your branding material, and obviously very crucial to have this done effectively online, but even in print pieces, billboards, everything like that. Inexperienced business owners and marketers, and I was in this camp, it's not a judgment, it's just a reality that inexperienced marketers are going to essentially dump all the puzzle pieces out on the board in front of you, and you're not going to know where all these elements belong, and you start to cause some psychological stress because there's micro decisions of like, what's that button for? Or what's all that text about? Or there's a picture here, picture here, picture here, and things don't flow together, and then you're causing psychological, stress of what am I supposed to do on this page is not a conscious thing, but it's an unconscious thing that we do when we're looking at a piece of marketing material. So when you focus on minimalism, you end up, focusing on just the key elements that will walk your prospect through the customer journey. And just like you said, then you can highlight the key aspect, the key element, the thing that you want them to focus on that will help them and solve their problems and that you can serve them with. So taking away things out of design is almost always a great first step to see what are the key things that they need to know, because everything else can very easily become that noise or extra pieces of the puzzle that they don't know what to do with.
Yeah, and that's so true because when we work with clients, a lot of the times when we're in the early stages and we're optimizing their website, say they already have a website, one of the very first things the team does is just take some of the clutter away because as business owners and entrepreneurs, you want to get your message out to the world. You have a lot of knowledge in your space and industry, and sometimes that can just kind of flood into your website. I look at hundreds, if not thousands, of websites a week in my role with the company, and I can't tell you how many are just overly cluttered.
Yeah.
You can't keep people's attention span if you have blogs as your whole, website. You have to have a clean, aesthetically pleasing design to get them to go through your funnels, to get them to take the next step on your website, because if there's too much information, they won't know what to do. And you definitely never want to create confusion on your landing pages. It's like one of the worst mistakes you can make because it's just giving away free customers, like free sales. So I think that one's really important. Another couple things I wanted to touch on with minimalism is it translates well across all platforms. Minimalism doesn't just stop at your website. It can be in your branding. It can be in your advertisements. It can be in a lot of your different assets. And they can oftentimes be, what's crazy is we're giving you all these tips about minimalism, but minimalism can be quick and easy to create compared to, overly complex designs, right? Like it's actually easier to focus more on the things that are important, right?
Yeah, you're not going to be able to achieve effective results or balance if you're trying to sell people all the 14 different things you do in whatever marketing material you're creating, a landing page, a website, or whatever. there's some exceptions and kind of variance in that. If you're running an e-commerce brand, then people are expecting to come and make a bunch of choices and choose which product they want. So you go to Amazon's homepage, and that's an exception. But for most small business owners, they need to focus on being able to say, what's the first thing that would I could ideally serve my customer with, the first
Right.
product, the first service. And if I just focus on that, and then you're right, you can just say, here's how you get started with using our first service or buying this first product or things like that. And that allows you to focus in on explaining how it's valuable, how it solves their problems, how it's easy to engage with it. And so you can, it's easier to lay out and design. The challenging part is it takes a lot of thought and market research and intention to know what is the most valuable thing to offer to my audience first.
Yeah.
And it takes some testing, which is why we do split testing. We compare different campaigns. We walk our clients through figuring out what is the simplest, purest approach to attracting their ideal customers.
Yeah, and that's so important, attracting that's what separates us as a business apart from a lot of these other marketing agencies is the in-depth marketing research that we do. And when we do that in-depth marketing research, we understand exactly who you're targeting, and that allows us when we're creating minimalist designs or logos or branding to use color schemes and ideas that really match the personalities of the people that you're targeting. It's really important, actually. A lot of people forget that, you want to appeal not only to their visual senses, but really how they feel. You know what I mean? And so I think that's super important. There's a couple other tips that I wanted to give to get started with this because it seems like a lot of information and a lot of changes to make. I don't want you guys to all run to your website and make a ton of changes without knowing what you're doing. So a couple of things, a couple of tips that I've gotten from our design team is focus on negative space, right? It allows your key elements to breathe and creates a sense of balance within your imagery on your website. Another one is prioritize clean typography. Ashley, our copywriter, is a master of this, but choose fonts that are easy to read and complement your brand personality. We use a specific font with our brand and our logos with BME, and we do that intentionally. It's all with intention. And then another thing is, this one can be a little bit harder to understand, but embrace a limited color palette. If you choose a few well-chosen colors, you can create a stronger visual impact than a rainbow explosion. Now, if your thing is, rainbows or multiple colors, and that's been in your brand for 50 years, you don't have to change it, right? But oftentimes, if you're a newer business, choose a few colors that really represent your brand and what emotions you're trying to conceive for your target audience. And then going along with that, simplify your logo, right? Like create a clean, minimalist logo that's memorable and also can be very versatile because if you have a very complex logo, people may get confused or not understand what you're trying to convey. And then the last one is, of course, a staple is use high quality visuals. It's 2025. We're not doing things in 360p anymore. So invest in some professional photography and illustrations that elevate your brand image. And all of those things can tie into, your website, your branding, and really everything, right, Gabe?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really thinking about when we think about digital design, one of the simplest things that everybody can keep in mind is that the digital things we interact with, we immediately correlate to what would it be like in my physical world. So
Yeah.
I'll use a bad example for those that are watching here on any of the YouTube or you're seeing the video here, and I'll describe it for those of you listening to the audio. Behind me, I have pictures hanging on my closet door. And in my aesthetic creatively, which is not effective marketing aesthetic, I'm kind of like eccentric, have things all over the place. And so I have a picture of my wife lower on the door, and then my son and his cousin up a little bit higher. And then I have another kind of reminder I have. And they're not in balance. You can see they're off
Right.
in my background. And I like that. I enjoy it. It kind of sparks creativity in me. But if I were to lay out a website or a landing page or a marketing flyer like that without balance, then we, in our mind, we think, oh, one of those is going to fall over, or it doesn't have the right negative space, or it's not constructed in a way that would be easy for the vast majority of people I was targeting.
Yeah.
And so thinking about if this were physically represented on a big wall in an office space, if that's like who you're targeting, or in this, think about how this would lay out on a big wall, and would people find it pleasing and easy to interact with or view, or would they be thinking, oh, a piece of it's going to fall over? There's that subconscious aspect of us that we correlate everything we do digitally with what it would be like physically.
Right.
So keep in mind how many elements and how you layer them together and how they align, and be really intentional about it so it flows if you're going to have a more creative look, or that it really aligns and balances if it's more logical structure. There's psychology of composition that's a good thing to pay attention to.
Yeah, and that's super important. We're really harping on minimalist design, but that doesn't fit for every business or niche. Do what feels right for the people that you're targeting. And what you said is so important. I wouldn't have my World of Warcraft banner or my Marvel poster on my business website.
Right.
However, I do in my office because they make me feel good. They're things that I love and I enjoy, and I embrace being me. With your website and your logo and your branding, embrace who your target audience wants to be. That's a very, very important thing. And I actually wanted to do something new today. So for our audio listeners, I'm going to share my screen. So if you guys want to hop over to YouTube and check out the video and see our smiling faces, we would love that. But if you give me a moment here, I want to give a couple examples of good, clean, minimalist design that we've actually done for our clients. So I'm going to share my screen here. So this is a website that we created for one of our clients, Pulse PEMF, and they have a very, very clean, sleek aesthetic. They have since we've worked with them. So we have a very easy to read, clean and sleek hero image with working images that move across. And everything is just seamless, and they have these colors that all coordinate with each other. They use these fonts here to convey what they're trying to achieve with their target audience. And so I just love this website. Everything flows so cleanly, it's minimalist, and it really is attractive to the people that they're targeting, right? And so I wanted to just show some examples of what minimalist design can really do. Everything at the top is clean and easy to read and will take you through their funnels exactly how you'd like. The same thing goes with their Instagram. So we have a mood board for them internally where we, collaborate on ideas and the creatives behind what they do. But it all is in line with each other, even with their advertisements. It's minimalist. It uses appealing typography that all matches each other. And I just think it's really important to get a visual representation of what good, clean, minimalist design can look like, right, Gabe?
Yeah, and you said a couple of things that are really important. One, you need to remember that what you're putting out there in marketing is to attract your ideal customer. It's not what engages you or is exciting for you, because I am super eccentric, and I would venture to say a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners, we're a little eccentric, and there's nothing wrong with that. But just because I find something stimulating or crazy or creative doesn't mean it's good marketing for who I want to attract into my business.
Exactly.
And also, I'm glad you pull that stuff up, because when you can say the most with the least amount of words, when you can have a simple image, you can convey bigger feelings. It was Abraham Lincoln who said, I'll butcher it a little bit, but he said, "I would have written you a shorter letter if I had more time."
Wow.
And that always stands out to me, because he knew that the power of really concise, powerful, intentional, well-edited, well-constructed words would have a bigger impact than him just kind of dumping out what he was thinking, and he didn't have time to, really construct it, clean it up, and shorten it. And I'll never forget when I heard that quote from him, because I was like, that's the essence of minimalist design, is continuing to optimize and shave away and peel back the layers so that you only are representing the essence and the biggest feelings and emotions and the real messaging that you want to have to attract the right people.
And that's so huge, right? I love the Abraham Lincoln quote as well. I know that you're a huge follower of him, but it's really important, guys. So I have a question for you guys. How's your brand design? How's it been looking recently? Is it messy? Is it unprofessional? Is it directionless? Or is it perfect? It could be any of them. But if you guys do need some help, a lot of these concepts can be a little bit hard to grasp, and that's why we have expert level designers that do all of this for us. You just saw live examples of it from the websites and the ad creatives that we have. So if you guys need some help to make your brand beautiful, reach out today. We'll have links in the description wherever you're watching so that you can book a call with me, and I'd love to discover more about what you have going on with your business. And with that, we will wrap it up with one last thing, and that is our win for this week. We always have to talk about our wins. So recently, with a client called Reach Success, we successfully addressed our clients' concerns and exceeded their expectations with revised website mock-ups. How did we do that? So sometimes we have situations like that where we really need to address clients' concerns quickly, And so we did so by actively listening to their feedback and incorporating their suggestions. How important would you say that is in taking care of our clients?
Yeah, it's really key. I mean, so much in our company falls back on our first, guiding principle of relationships first, and we know that when we show up and really actively listen and understand what's important to our client, how much they know and understand about their audience, we really pay attention to what is the essence of what they need to say, how do they show up and serve, what's the impact they want to make, and that's what allows our designers and our marketing strategists and our copywriters to represent our clients with the work we put out at such a higher level, because we know how to be minimalist and make the biggest statement possible. We know how to make people feel, welcome and all the warm colors and great layout and design, and take action. And so actively listening and really understanding what our, partner client needed was a huge part of why that was a success.
Yeah, and the last thing I'll touch on is another one of our guiding principles, which we're going to try and touch on more in these episodes, and that is continuous improvement. And that really ties into that win for this week. So it says, we continually seek ways to improve the effectiveness of our processes and strategies. We achieve this by applying our X Factor leadership model, which if you guys are interested, I'm sure we can share that with you. But we do this by actively learning more about our role and related roles and requesting open and candid feedback. So that's really, really important when we're doing this work hand in hand with our clients, to listen to their feedback and improve upon our skills to make our deliverables better, right?
Yep, absolutely. It's a key part. And that's why we live and die by our principles here, because we know that if we always, as a team, are operating from a place of principle, we can show up and serve well, we can continue to deliver better and better work. And I'm proud to say that what we're delivering here in Q1 of 2025 will not be at the same level of excellence of what we're going to do at the end of the year or 2 years out. We're going to continue to grow and change, and that's how you compete in a marketplace, and that's how you attract your ideal customers, is continuing to grow and put out better and better work. And I'm proud to say that the team has been doing that for years.
I'm proud to say it too, Gabe, and I couldn't think of a better way to wrap up today's episode. Guys, if you ever need help with your designs, your logos, your branding, let us know. Otherwise, we're super happy to spend some time with you today, and we will see you all on the next episode. Thanks for tuning in.
See you, everyone.